turn up to give the answer to that question. I believe that politicians must come to you with a report card every 5 years for your constituency. And I know that Anthony Wood practiced doing it. And he set out in very detailed terms everything that had been accomplished in the constituency over that 5-year period. And that is the kind of example that I would want to follow. I do not believe that in Barbados there should be anything that is regarded as safe seats, which encourage politicians not to go back to the people and to do work. I just came from speaking in St. John, and I will go to St. John to speak as often as I'm requested, because we have a candidate there called Hudson Griffith who might be fighting against the odds. But I believe that the people of Barbados must hold politicians to a high standard and not become frustrated simply because they do not perform. If they do not perform, my solution is to kick them out. And I believe that that's what needs to be done in St. Philip West. And that is what needs to be done in St. Philip North. And that is what has to be done in St. Philip South. Because they had 5 years. And even if you could see that work had been started, seriously, I don't mean the road works projects that they started last month or 2 months ago. Those are political gimmicks. And you must not be fooled by them. I think in 2013, you should not be coming to an educated population. There are so many roads that have been started across this country. In St. Philip West, you can see that they started roads in Harlington, in Garrett Road. They started over by Oldbury Woods, in Ebenezer. All started. None look as though they're going to be completed. And as I was driving across from St. John, they have the road out there dug up too. And none of them completed. But I don't think that people should treat us as though we are foolish. Why were these roads not started 5 years ago? Why is it that none have been completed? Why is it that they're only now being started 3 months before an election? I believe that you should disregard those attempts to treat you as though you are not the sensible, educated people that you are. I think that it is time that all of that should change in Barbados. We have to make people who are supposed to work accountable. And in this constituency, you have an Adriel Brathwaite who promised a number of things as for the constituency, which I'm sure Anthony Wood will speak about. But I want to talk about the things that he promised as a minister and the Attorney General. Now, Barbados, as you know, has two very important sectors when it comes to raising revenue and earning foreign exchange. One is tourism, and the second one is international business. International business now contributes over 70% of the corporation tax that is raised in Barbados. 70%, that is significant. So that the companies that come here, the individuals who come here and set up companies to invest, that set up mutual funds, that set up banks, that set up insurance companies, often those companies pay into the treasury, one of them, as much as $5 million or more every year. And this Democratic Labour Party has completely neglected the sector, what I call reckless incompetence. Now, what did Adriel Brathwaite promise? I remember going to a meeting of the international business sector. It was an ICAB conference, the body for the accountants. And Adriel got there and made a presentation where he promised that he would put in place the legislation that the international business community was requesting. Up to this day, he has not kept his promise. And what has happened? Those accountants and those lawyers and those administrators that used to travel out of Barbados to get investors to come in, stop doing it. Because in 2009, they were made a promise and they went out faithfully. They came back, nothing was done. In 2010, they went out faithfully again. They made promises to their clients, nothing was done. So they continued to go back and forth until they realized that they would be making themselves look stupid by continuing to say to these investors, our government is going to do a particular thing, and then not having the government do it. And it is not just the Barbados Labour Party that is saying this. A few months ago, last year, VOB had a program called Down to Brass Tacks. And on it, they had the president of the Barbados International Business Association, and they had the chief executive officer of Invest Barbados. And these two individuals, and note that one of them is a government employee, and the other one is a president of an association who has no axe to grind but wants to keep her business going. And they both said that the government had been lax in responding to any requests from the international business community. They simply did not keep their promises. And therefore, they had made an assessment that Barbados was losing billions of dollars. Now, I don't know that Barbados can afford to lose billions of dollars at any time. But in an international recession that they say is the worst that the world has ever seen, that we would just let money go by like that, when all we had to do was to pass some pieces of legislation and the private sector said that they would do the rest. But not even that this government could not do. And I am saying to you that Adriel Brathwaite himself made that promise because I heard him make it myself. And I believe that when you have ministers, ministers get paid. And ministers, if they get paid, should do their job. So what is his excuse for not getting that legislation passed? So it should be no surprise to you that the government then has to continue to borrow money every month to pay our expenses. Do you know that when the Barbados Labour Party was in office, we never had a deficit on current expenditure? Never. These deficits on current expenditure are now only occurring under the Democratic Labour Party because they have to borrow to pay their expenses. It is like if you had to borrow money to pay your light bill instead of borrowing money to improve your home. That is the difference. And this Democratic Labour Party tells you in this election that they plan to continue on the same path. But if you continue on the same path of borrowing money to pay your expenses, where do you think you would end up? So it's not surprising that this country has been downgraded to junk with all the things that the Democratic Labour Party is doing or not doing. It is a very serious matter. And then they continue to dip into their national insurance fund, our national insurance fund, that people are wondering whether or not a pension is going to be there for them at the end of the day. Those things are not right. Those things show a level of incompetence, I believe, that Barbados cannot continue with. So, the Barbados Labour Party is promising a better tomorrow for the people of Barbados. We are promising that as soon as we get into office, we are going to look to put more money in your pocket. People may think that that is just a gimmick, but it is not. For me, when we pledge in our manifesto that we immediately will take the VAT off of your electricity bill so that your electricity bill will come down. That is important to me. And I know it is important to you. When we say that we will take the VAT off of food items that still have VAT, because we remove some of the VAT, we remove VAT from a number of food items. And the Democratic Labour Party promised that they would review the basket of goods and they would seek to give you additional ease. They never did it. They never did it. And they told you that job number 1 was cost of living, job number 2 was cost of living, and job number 3 was cost of living. And then they get into government and they do nothing about it. The Barbados Labour Party believes that its manifesto is a pledge to you. So when we say that we will reduce your land tax payments by increasing the exemption to 200,000 instead of 150,000, we mean that. We are keeping that promise. When we tell you that we are going to reduce your road tax so that Barbadians now don't have to put down their car, because a vehicle is not just a leisure facility. Our vehicles are used for business and all other manner of things, and we need to continue to use them. So when we say that we are going to reduce the road tax, we mean that we are going to reduce the road tax, because our manifesto is a contract with the people of Barbados. That is how we see it. And this contract with the people of Barbados, we are required under the Owen Arthur administration, we are required that when we go in, if you give us the opportunity, that when we go into government, each minister is responsible for taking the pledges from the manifesto and incorporating them into the government policy. And every year that we go to estimates to ask for money, we have to show the Minister of Finance where we have reached with our projects. So when individuals say that we make promises and do not keep them, if there's a promise that is not kept, it is a promise that cannot be kept because of some extreme circumstance that we did not take into account. But this manifesto is the manifesto that will go into government with us. This manifesto is the manifesto that we will review every single year to make sure that we are keeping the promises that we have made to you. This manifesto is the manifesto that at the end of 5 years, we will produce a document called Promises and Performance. And we will present it to you and show what we have done. So ladies and gentlemen, I am not worried about us being able to keep our promises because we spent months developing this manifesto. Unlike the Democratic Labour Party, we feel that when we are in opposition, we still have a duty to the people. So we were not wasting our time. We were developing our policies, meeting with members, stakeholders of the community, and discussing with them what were the most appropriate things for this manifesto. So I am not worried about us being able to keep our promises because we have not put anything that is unrealistic in this manifesto. But ladies and gentlemen, we need people in Parliament to be able to construct our cabinet and to enforce our policies. So tonight, I am asking you to return to Parliament the representative, I believe the true representative of St. Philip South. What happened before must be put behind us. You have a true champion of the people of St. Philip South. In fact, some people used to criticize him for only thinking about the people of St. Philip South. But St. Philip South is his. It is for the other representatives to make the case for their own constituency. And I can guarantee you, as you know full well, that Anthony Wood will live up to his promises. He will keep his word. He will work hard. He will make sure that work starts in St. Philip South again, that the community activities that he was engaged in, that those will restart, that the people of St. Philip South will have a true representative. So on Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to come out in your numbers and ensure that Mr. Anthony Wood is replaced to that privileged place in the House of Parliament as he so deserves. I thank you, good night, and God bless.